I'm excited because it's like, where are we gonna go? But I think just narrowing it down to community makes sense because that is it. Like I can't think of any other word that we would be using, you know, as our entry point into any conversation.
Yeah, true.
You know, so that's already set. But
so
what about community?
Who are you, and what does this word mean, and why are the two of you even here?
Okay. That's a good one.
Okay. Who are you?
Yes.
What does this word mean, and why are you here? Yeah, let's do that. Oh my gosh, why are you here? Like on this earth, in this universe? Like, yeah. See, this you said don't smoke. Now, see, if you asked me who are you, and I had smoked, I would have died. Yeah, I would have been like, no.
I know I did not smoke today either.
I know me either. I was like, I
good.
totally could.
I didn't because I was like, I wanted to feel so full into the
aware
and yeah, it just wasn't that kind of party.
No, for me, like if I'm gonna read your chart, blast off. Let's go, fucking take me up into the stars, you know. But I want to be closer to the ground today. Yeah. That's all. Okay, who are you?
I am LAMEIA. And I intentionally don't say my last name these
Why?
days. Because I've been kind of shedding the colonial aspects of how I got here. Because I know that the Reddick name holds like lineage and all of that. But there's almost like being LAMEIA Reddick for me has been my whole life.
Of course.
And so now I'm stepping into this, who's LAMEIA. And I think that that's really fun. It's really creative. And so I'm here as LAMEIA today in this place and space. And I think there's also like a bit of a way that I'm still in understanding who am I? Because I have lived so much life in my 31 years of life. There's so much in there. There's so much in there. I keep saying there's so much. There's just so many things.
Are you just coming?
All of the things.
Are you just coming out of your Saturn return then? Yeah. Is that?
Yes. And that experience for me was amazing because I was in it for a really long time. Like it was like the full 3 kind of years.
Yeah, mine's still happening.
Yeah. And so but now I think I've arrived, and then you just add COVID on top of that. And
just
like
casually.
The changing of the world and all of the ways that the world's changing every day. So it's like, I think, but I do know that I'm here, that I'm physically here. We've done the work to be here. We're in places and spaces where I feel safe to be myself. So it's like, yeah, like there's just this knowing that like as my body sits in this place and space that like I'm here and still discovering who I am in a lot of ways. And because I think that there's been parts of like, what will I tell? What won't I tell? What will I share? What won't I share?
Totally.
You know, and so I think there's just this new space that's opening up that LAMEIA is now LAMEIA. And she's always been LAMEIA, but there's this sense of like, oh yeah, like I'm here. So.
I want to ask a question. Can I ask a question? Okay, great. Okay, cool.
I got something to say. Yeah, it's on you.
Okay, great. So you're in this new place. LAMEIA, drop the last name. You know what I mean? For now. Maybe it comes back. Who knows?
It is back. Like it's
here, but it's not your introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay, I think.
Because I think the thing for me, it's like, it's now, you know where it is? My name is written on, you know, the wall in the, at the Black Loyalist Museum. And when I saw that my last name was there, it's almost like when I came back, I didn't even like just recognizing that my ancestors come through the Book of Negroes. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's written down, Reddick. It's written. So I think that has opened up a whole, I need to understand this last name.
Right.
You know, so I think it's the weight of that, but it's almost like I need to step into just this, like, let the Reddick, like, kind of.
Just chill.
Let it chill.
And what would you say in this like new space that you're in? It's exciting to be in new things. It's hard to be in new things. It's confusing to be in new things. But what would you say at this moment right now as you sit here is like the essence of LAMEIA? Right?
The essence is, it is the essence. You know?
Yeah.
Use my word. I just keep thinking about the song Essence and the way that I dance to that song. I'm just loving. I love is the essence.
There
of
we
that.
go.
You know, it's that love of and that recognition of love to be like, oh yeah, that's that shit.
Right.
And you got it. You have it. You are it. So in this moment, I am the essence of love.
Oh God, is that the name of this like episode now? You know, gee.
I don't know.
The you are love, I feel like is like a statement that has felt so foreign and hard. You know what I mean? Like recognizing that my innate presence, my being, without doing, I already am something.
Yeah.
You know, and that feels like it's been so hard for me to grasp. I don't know why, but just like, yeah.
I don't know if many people get there.
Right.
I don't know if I think that, and I think there's a part of me that wanted, like that was my life. And I don't know if it's because I'm an artist, like, I don't know,
Probably.
but there is a part of a, you know, I think some people get to that place of being in these questions and want to do this work to get here, you know, because you don't get there unless you go through the work to get to that place, right? So that's interesting that you're kind of also, you know, in a space of that being. And who are you?
Yeah, right. This is long-winded now, right? Now we get into the long-winded part. So it's funny that you say you are like kind of like leaving your last name to the side for a moment, because last names have always been so complicated for me. So my last name's MacDonald, but then everyone would be like, how? You know? And I didn't have another last name to be like, oh, well, my Black last name is, and then figured out my Black last name. And then, you know, that name's still colonial. That name still isn't a mother tongue to us.
Yeah.
Isn't really where when you boil it all down, that's not really the name that is attached to me. So there's all of those conversations happening in my head. Kate never felt like my name. Now everybody knows me as that.
Right.
So it's more other people associate the name with me.
Right.
But I don't associate myself with the name Kate. Like what? You know?
Is it just Kate or is it Caitlin?
Kathleen.
Kathleen. Okay.
Yeah. You know? And I just feel like I'm the antithesis to Kathleen, kind of like in every single capacity that could exist. So I've always felt like my name didn't always fit on right. And it's funny because my partner was like, yeah, we'll just call you Katiana. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
K''Tiona. And I was like, yeah,
that.
sure. I'll take it. So yeah. And like, then a lot of people also call me K-Mac.
Yeah.
Because the Kate doesn't work for them either. So they just gave me a new name. They're like, nah, we're not doing that. I was like, okay. So yeah, that's part of what's in my name.
You know what's interesting is you're saying that, like, I don't even know if I really identify with you as Kate.
Right.
Not just the name, but like even any name. Like, I think your presence and who you are speaks so loudly that it doesn't even matter what your name is, because it's actually the way that you are.
That's such a compliment.
Beyond that, you know, and I think that's really interesting because I as you're saying all that, I'm like, okay, yeah, like, but I don't even think that I really like, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I just always, I don't really get a sense of like, I wouldn't call you that, you know?
You know what I mean? Because I feel like my name could also be like water, you know? Like my name could be like moon. But yeah, I think easily my name could be like a thing.
Yeah.
You know, it could be like a flower or a tree. And I think
and in a lot of ways that it was.
Yeah.
You know, like we were not, you know, LAMEIA, that's the name that my mom created for me. I love my name.
Yeah, it's
lived
beautiful.
into it, made my brand, everything around that. And so I think there's a part of like wanting to hold that and to be in that creative process with it. But, and in some ways my spirit was always LAMEIA, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I think that there is, you know, my connection to my name, but I don't see you as Kate.
If you
but I see you as Kate now. But I mean, like, in terms of that's what we call you, but I see you more in a fuller way.
Yeah, there's more to it for sure.
Yeah.
If you could choose your name, have you ever thought about it? Would you change your name to something else?
I love that all the ladies all the older women impressing they can't say LAMEIA. And it's just kind of like one of those things, like they call me Amelia.
Amelia?
Or Amelia or Amia or Alia. Like I get like, so I would be like a version of like
LAMEIA.
Yeah, like Amelia or something, like, but how my auntie calls me that. You know, like it's like, and I really identify with those names and the way that they call me those names. And we have a lot of nicknames and stuff too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
like
yeah,
in the community. So it's like, yeah, this naming thing is important. I mean, I think about all the time in terms of how important names are though, like in terms of children, and
yeah,
we got some really great names.
Yeah.
But
talk about that. Talk about the culture, the ways in which we name our children.
Yeah.
You asked me earlier,
'Cause
like,
I mean-
why Atlas?
Yeah.
Right? So like, and historically we have non-traditional names.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So traditional based on whose standard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, well, I guess like not, like it's like really a lot of the names that are like traditional are like biblical or like Eurocentric,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Like Elizabeth and
Y'all don't
And
want to know my middle name. I never tell anybody that.
my middle names are as white as my first name. Like,
I'm not gonna tell them. I'll say that for another episode.
okay. I was like, are
I
you
love
gonna?
my middle name,
Do it.
but it has a story to it.
Tell it.
It's Shantifa.
Okay. How you spell Shantifa?
Shantifa. It took me a really long time to learn how to spell that
Okay.
when I was young. SHAWNTIFAH.
Okay.
Shantifa.
I would have said
Shantifa.
Yeah, I would have said
gotta say it like that.
SHAUNTIFA.
Exactly.
That's what I would
And
have said.
so my mom begged me to change my name later in life.
Oh, she was like, please don't do this. Don't do this to
Like
me.
she literally was like, it was one of those things where, okay, this goes with the naming thing. Like 19 years old,
Yeah.
you know, making names. And so the name was inspired by Queen Latifah.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is amazing.
Cool.
And her name's Sandra. So it's like, it's a way that came together in this beautiful way. And I identify with it. And I was like, no, I'm not going to change it because I'm Shantifa. Like, and some of my family members call me that. But I thought of changing it to Sean.
I was going to say, you look
And
like a
just
Sean,
be
hey?
like a SHAUN. Like,
But
that's
you
what I
look
was
like a
going to
Sean.
do.
You look like a Sean.
Yeah, like
You
I
totally
literally
look
was
like a
just gonna
Sean.
like say I should just be Sean, like me as Sean Reddick, which
Yeah.
would have been really cool.
Oh, I love that.
right?
Ooh, I
so
love
maybe
that.
that's I'm not gonna change it, but if I were, it would be that. It would be that spelling SHAUN.
Ooh, I like that. I always wanted to have a boy name, also, like
Yeah.
a boy name.
Yeah.
Yeah, growing up. Yeah. But I'm down for Katiana, you know?
I like that.
That was a cool, like, moment. And I don't know. Yeah, if I ever, like, picked anything, it'd be, like, a color. Like, I would be, like, imperceivable, you know?
Yeah.
But I think at this point, feels like I've had Kate so long that, like, Katiana is, like, the only evolution of the name that would still, like, honor how much work Kate has put in to this life.
Yeah.
And, like, how far I've taken this name. Like, you know what I mean? The name, okay, well, in Halifax, you know, depending on your name, you get certain places.
Exactly.
So a lot of times, Kate McDonald shows up, and they're, like, ready for it, but I'm Kate McDonald. You feel me?
Yes.
Like, it's not who you're ready for. So
Right.
I feel.
Do you think that still matters now that you know, like, do
Yeah,
you
people-
feel like everybody knows your name? Because that's another thing. I think Halifax can feel so small sometimes that you know that your name rings.
Yeah.
And do you feel that, like, that whenever your name shows up, that people know you? Yeah.
Yeah, well, for a while there, people were like thinking that there was like many Kate McDonalds because my
Right.
name was like popping up all over the place and
Right.
under anything.
Yeah.
Like if I think that I can do it, I'm gonna do it.
Yes.
So, and you know, and really me thinking I can do it is just me believing that I'm gonna do something.
Yeah.
It can be anything. So yeah, I do think that people know my name at this point and like have married the two together.
And as it relates to, like, as I kind of talked about, like,
How do you feel about that?
Okay, so I like recognize that I am like an extroverted person. I have the privilege of people caring enough to listen to the words that I say, which means that people feel like I am in tune in some way with what's happening in the world. That's a blessing. But sometimes I'm like, man, am I just gonna be more known from here? Like, is there more? Or do at what point do I say this is private?
right.
At what point do I say, I don't want to speak at that? At what point do I say, I don't have anything left to say? So I wonder, because I know that time will come I know that time will come. Everyone's always like, I love hearing you speak. And one day I won't anymore. Like, I just won't be relevant, you know, or it will be somebody else's time, or that won't be where my focus is. So yeah, I really do wonder about the public-private, especially Black women. Like, everyone thinks that you are theirs, that your time is theirs.
I was literally just talking about this.
Yeah.
Because I think for me, like being the age that I am and recognizing, you know, you start seeing patterns and stuff over time. And then I also started thinking about like back of how Black women have built all societies.
Yeah.
And just thinking about the fact that our bodies were owned and we didn't have the agency or the autonomy.
Right.
And that's what I think for me, what's coming up is that I have this autonomy over my body and myself now that my ancestors would never dream of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they were robbed of that. And so we are kind of in this process of holding all of this history of Black women not being able to do what they want and not having the things that they need. And just so, you know, for me asking for what I need and actually like advocating for, like, that is, like, I have to do that now. Because it's like, there's nobody who's going to be able to tell me or to be able to create the conditions for me.
Nope.
I have to create those conditions for myself. So it's hard, it's exhausting. And I know that, but that when we do that work, we do that for everybody, that everybody is better when Black women are better.
Oh yeah,
Like,
absolutely, absolutely, 100%.
And when we're served and when we're happy and when we're taken care of, everybody wins.
Everybody else comes along, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about this all the time.
Wild.
I think about this all the time, like working and how much free labor Black people have already given to this world and continue to give to this world. I'm like, y'all are nuts if you think that I want to sit 5 days, 8 hours for the rest of my life, because I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm dying for there to be 3 day weeks. Like, I just want to reclaim part of my life back to just doing whatever I need to do in my own pattern, in my own time, out in nature, near water, learning, you know, connecting. I want to harvest that reconnection.
Why do you think that is so problematic for the world and capitalism? Specifically, like, why is the rest and the natural things of what we want such a problem? Like, why? That's what, I don't know if I've ever had this conversation with anybody else. Like, about just the natural things that we want.
Right. I think that because, again, like for Black women to have the audacity to want to step outside of capitalism. So like for the dream not to become a millionaire, right? Because that keeps us working, clued in, clocked in, on the clock for hours, weekends, holidays. And now we're actually saying, you can't buy what I want for myself. I can't purchase that. Which means I won't do the work for you. Which means I won't do extra work for you. Which means there isn't a price tag attached to it. You can't buy it. You can't buy me. And that is so disruptive to capitalism that I think people want it for themselves also. Even if you're not a Black woman, you want it for yourself, but you don't know how to say it, so you hate it, you resent it. But then also, like, I think people, look at it and say, like, how did you get there? How did you arrive at that idea? And when people don't understand things, especially about Black women, it turns into, like, anger, resentment, like, it's like violence, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, in some ways, I think like that's, in some ways, where's my heart breaking right now? Like, where is my heart hurt? It hurts because I feel like what I want for the world and for people is, to me, seems so simple. Like, if we can all just have the space and place to be and to be taken care of and the resources to be like not even equal, but distributed. Yeah,
evenly distributed.
You know, there be, and I was like, for me, it's like there's some people who are eating way more. You know what I mean? You're eating way more. And just to recognize that everything's out of balance. And so I think that that's kind of like, for me, as I think about Black women and what we bring to the table is like this I want to say it's like, we use this word at 2B Theater all the time, rigor. But it's like, I don't even think it's rigor but it's like just this like thing of like, it's not right.
Yeah.
And we have to kind of
Keep going.
And so in some ways it is rigor, but I'm trying to like find another word because it's becoming my default.
Yeah.
But it's like, what is this desire that we're bringing to like find that balance and to have things? Another word from Dennis Adams is harmony. Like, you know, he basically talks about how do we kind of bring this harmony into place and space. And like, I like those things like kind of go, like they pull at each other.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you think about rigor and you think about harmony, but it's like, we got to kind of fight for some other alternative to what we're seeing happening now.
Well, that's what I talk about in political spaces all the time. Y'all, there is more than enough to go around.
Yeah.
There's no reason. Like, show me a logical reason as to why we're investing millions of dollars in over here, but I know this X amount of people, there's like, I think 467 houseless identified individuals by various services here, but we're still letting people buy 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 homes. Like, you know what? That don't sit right with me. Like, things are developing at a rapid pace without consultation from the Mi'kmaq community, with no ask from anyone Black. Like, what do you want to see? How do you feel? What can you afford? And can't nobody get a home?
Yeah.
Like, that to me seems like we've really gone left.
Yeah.
You know? And like, we don't actually have services that really serve people. We have services that serve a mandate.
Yeah.
So what are we doing? Like, in a lot of realms, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, what are you doing? What am I doing? What is everyone doing? People who are holding positions of power, like, you know, like, what's the premier doing? Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you impact positively? What do you choose to actively not gatekeep? And I don't know that a lot of people have any good answers for that.
We've lost so much, and I wouldn't even say that we've even progressed. Like,
No.
I think it's like,
Say it.
it's like,
All right, your coach in the back. Coach, there's coach in the back. Go ahead.
because I think, you know, the work, like when my mom and I decided to open up our basement to hold space for the children and young people in our community, like the gift of what we get when they show up, ready and curious with smiles and laughs, like to me that is like that joy in itself, before we even do any program with them. You know what I mean? It's just the coming and the being together. And so I think there's a sense of like, in some parts of community and in some parts in this landscape, we have no money on the table. Like there's no mandate for that. It's just this love and this neighborly connection and this, that does it for me. You know, like I can do this. I love this. Let's more of this. And I think that there's like, of course, it would be amazing if that was fully resourced in the sense of we had block house centers all over the place. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, for me, I can't even sometimes formulate what my ask would be to someone like the premier. Because the thing is that I don't even think that they see me. Like they don't
need
see
to explain,
me.
like how much would you have to? You have to go back 500 years and be like, my ancestors arrived, you know? Like that's,
yeah.
And like he don't want to hear it, you know? He don't want to hear it, and then he's not going to see the value in funding it. Like that's sometimes what I often like run up against. I'm like, yo, where's the person that's buying the dream?
Yeah.
Because like a lot of it is us doing, and I say this to our generation specifically, but every generation's come up against this.
Yeah.
Every generation is doing new work, built off of old work, but it's got to be new, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be reborn. It's got to be transformed. And so we spend a lot of time kind of like selling the dream.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's like, what is the dream? I really truly just like want Black people to be safe.
Totally.
And liberated and experience joy and reconnect with our ancestors and the world around us. Like, that's it.
That's it. Me too.
Right? Like, that's it. And so, like, how do I sell that dream to a funding body?
Yeah, and I think some people will say, well, you know, why do we need other people to fund our stuff? Well, even if I don't need people to fund, there is an inequity that exists long before I even got here. So I'm not responsible for that.
Nope.
You know, we're not responsible for what we inherited. And so there's an element of, in order for there to be something that comes back into balance, there has to be a giving And there has to be an offering.
An offering, yeah.
That literally makes it so that we can get to work together again.
Yeah.
Because the thing, in some ways, it's like I worked so hard to get here, and we all have, like, we worked so hard to get, and it's like, it's not possible to keep working like this.
No.
To be able to kind of like do this for another 20 years, So I think there's a part of like, it does become the society's responsibility to kind of want to see people not, I want to say marginalized, but in some ways, like, I exist in the margins. Like, I stand there because that's where I want to be. I can walk into so many rooms and places and spaces and people be like, oh, LAMEIA, like, it's like, oh, and I'm just like, I don't even want to be here. I don't want to be here. I really don't. Because you know what? I'm actually really tired of being the one and only Black person in your space. I'm really tired of being your source of inspiration and your food in terms of like food for thought. Because the thing is that like the ideas and what I'm bringing to the table comes from my pain. It comes from me not being able to change things in the community how I want to. It comes from me having
to live through these like theories and frameworks that we talk about. Like I lived it, right? Like we talk about racism and like anti-racist theories and framework. Yeah, like Black people have to navigate that in real time. Like all the time.
All the time.
At the grocery store, like on the bus, getting a cab, not getting a cab, right? That was my favorite thing when a cab made me give them my ID. I was like,
so that they could know who you are.
Yeah, they had to check that I was Kate McDonald.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I guess my question in this sense of knowing, and it's like we're vibing because we know what we carry.
Yeah.
Where does the rest and the restore come from? And how have you, come to a place in your world where you're in that flow, of keeping that rest and restore kind of at central, because we could literally give ourselves to our community and to our people, and we do. But I think the part of me where I'm coming into LAMEIA more intentionally is because I'm committed to this rest and restore and this like reconnection to ask myself, what do I want? Like, what has that journey been like for you?
I've had to burn out a lot. You know what I mean? Like I get to an absolute meltdown, breakdown point, and there's like benefit to breaking down because then you have nothing to do but to like put yourself back together. And it's different and it's learned and it's with lessons. But a lot of it is like the breakdown and then I'm forced to rest. And like, that's not sustainable either. It's not healthy either. But again, like it's very hard to find like how, like when do I rest? How? Like away from everyone, with family, with friends, making art, in the streets, at a party. And it's like, yeah, like what is the output and the input and what is the risk and reward? And the more time I spend like in this life, in this body, doing the things that I'm like, supposed to do, like we were talking about this before, it's not necessarily like I show up at everything like, yeah, this is perfect. Like these things are callings that are being answered. These things are plans that are bigger than myself. These are crevices that only I can fit into. So I think, but as time goes on, I'm like, wow, we really need like a deep retreat, no cell phones retreat, like deep retreat in the woods, like, just like holding dirt, like, just whatever, like it. But the more I learn, it just feels like deeper and deeper, like it's gonna have to be this really kind of like meditative, curated healing space.
Why I like laugh when you said holding dirt, because like the plants is what brought me to my healing place. Like I was obsessing over flowers at one point in my journey. Yeah. And that was coming up because I was burning out. I was, I think in that time, experiencing for the first time, like depression in a real way. Because scary. I had an experience of it when I was young.
It's scary.
And didn't really know what it was. You know what I mean? And all of that, because we didn't have words for it. We didn't talk about it then. And So for me, when I was recognizing, I was really able to find what were the coping, which were these rituals of, you know, that was my first experience of doing rituals in terms of like flowers, cleaning, and all that kind of stuff in my home space. And so what that time was teaching me was that, oh, you're going to get this house ready for you to be your sanctuary.
Right.
You're going to learn how to work in your house, and this is going to be your place of restore. And so I think for me, I started, like, I would go to the grocery store, buy the 50% off flowers, like basically bring them home, clean them all, organize them, set them up all over the house, light candles, and just like chill. Like that was like the first parts of like me kind of getting into this like spiritual awakening in some way, I think. And then I was like, something's going on with this. Like I need to look like, maybe I should be a florist or something. Like I was like, I got to do something with this energy. And then I started looking for opportunities to train as a florist. Like, how do you even do that? How do you become that? And so then anyways, I had this experience of working at a flower shop. And so that really opened me up because I always would work. Like I love working, I love jobs. And that's kind of like, in terms of community, where it comes from. It's like my like desire to work and get paid and make money, but also to like learn and to go into spaces and places where, you know, I didn't see anybody who looked like me. And so from that, flowers, florist, plants. And so the plant therapy really helped me. And so it's like, without having any formal training or anything or any kind of way, I'm healing myself. Yeah. You know, like you're kind of getting into this place of recognizing that you're unpacking all this freaking historical, you know, ancestral, it's all coming through you. Like there's no way that you can stop that. You can't stop those voices. You can't stop those discussions that you're having with your own self. Like
that's astrology for me.
And so it's like,
that's astrology,
you know,
for me,
you start to get, you accept it, you embrace it, you allow yourself.
It's scary though, eh?
Yeah.
It's like almost like you're like unlocking new kind of like echo chambers in your body, and you're hearing clearer voices from your ancestors, and you're seeing clearer connections to like a way life was before we ever arrived here. And it's so scary. Like, you know, I don't know why I feel that way, but sometimes I'm like, oh my God.
Well, it's scary.
It's like a ride.
We've never actually had any examples of it within this like context.
Right.
Canada here, Nova Scotia,
Halifax.
Yeah, true. Like, we were taken away. Had we stayed in kinship with our Indigenous grandmothers, and you know what I mean, if they would have been able to kind of have the agency over their own bodies and autonomy, we would be fine. Yeah. You know, we would be healing, we would be living in harmony. But I think the thing is that all the while, like we've been disrupted in our way that we want it to live. And so I think there is this kind of like reclaiming and this power that we're coming into now to say, this is how I want to live. This is who I want to be. This is what I want to do with the children and my friends. And like, we can actually just have that space for ourselves now. Yeah. And that's what's important. What does that mean for everybody else? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I don't know where white people fit into this. I don't know where, other than them just like helping support and like make it easier. Yeah, like, please. Can you just make it easier?
Barrier free. Let's do barrier free. Low barrier.
Can you just like hear all of the people, not even just us, hear all the people? Like, because there's some people who really just aren't listening. And that's the thing. That's a problem. It's like this like inability to listen and to know what's really happening. That's essentially what the problem is. We have a big problem here.
Well, people forget, or like don't forget, but we never forget. Yes. First point of contact. Yes. Right? First point of contact, oldest Black community. When we say we know, right? I've had conversations with folks who like their ancestral roots aren't here. Yeah. And neither are ours really, but you know what I mean? For the past, half a century at least. Yeah. And there are things that and I was removed from community, right? They just don't know some things. There's just some things that we know. There's just some experiences and patterns. We don't live through things for 500 years to not pick up on a pattern or two. Right. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't notice one pattern? Like, no, we've noticed them all. That's why when people are like, oh, is it racist here? You wouldn't even know it. No. You wouldn't even know it. Because it's in every nuance. It's in the looks that you won't give me. It's in the ways that you won't shake my hand. It's in the ways that you don't call people back for jobs. It's in the assumption that you know where I'm from. Or like even that if you do know where I'm from, that you know what it's about. You know, like
it's the like coming up to me in the store and asking me about something totally unrelated. I don't know you.
I popped off in a Walmart. LAMEIA. Girl, I took my mask off. I took my COVID times. I took my mask off. I was like, don't touch me. Like, so there's a Walmart around the corner from my house. And I'll just say, I live in Cole Harbor. So in 91, there were race riots. The year I was born, there were race riots there. So that wasn't long enough ago for people to forget.
Yeah.
Those people that were in those race riots probably have kids, maybe grandkids now. Anyways, so I'm at the Walmart and I'm buying a bathing suit and a bunch of other shit. I'm there every day. And they said, don't forget to scan that. I took my mask down. And I was like, y'all always on my ass every single time I'm in here. Like, what do you want from me? Have I stolen anything yet? Have you found anything? No? Okay, cool. Leave me alone. The manager comes over. I go, don't try and manage me. Don't try and handle me. Don't, please. Like, just hear me. She was like, I've never come over and approached you before. I said, but every single one of your employees has.
Yes.
And they follow me around. And you think I don't notice. Like, I was like, you made me show my ID when I paid with a credit card here not that long ago. Like, this is insanity. And yeah, I was yelling. And then there was a youth that I knew there. I was like, so sorry I'm turned up at your workplace, but it is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
I couldn't, and I usually don't, because I'm always fighting, right? Like, I'm in the streets fighting. I'm at the tables fighting. So I try not to, when I'm just moving through the world, like trying to get some shit done, I try not to, but I do every time. Yeah, I can't help it. And that's another thing that I've been thinking about a lot, like this peaceful. We got to be peaceful.
Yeah.
I don't owe anyone peace. Do not bring that shit to me. I don't owe you peace. I choose peace for me. And I teach peace so that other kids can have access to it when they want it. But I don't owe this world peace. Right. I don't have to walk into a room peaceful. I have to walk into a protest over a black person dying? You want me to be peaceful? Yeah. The only natural reaction is violence, right? That's like, it's unnatural to say that I need to meet violence with peace. Yeah. And there's state-sanctioned violence, there's microaggressions, there's macroaggressions. Black women are underprotected and overexposed to just about everything, overrepresented in all of the systems that we don't even have a choice to interact with. And so, yeah, to ask me to be peaceful just sounds like you might be afraid of what happens if I become angry. Yeah. And I'm allowed to be. Like, you know what I mean? Anger's so powerful. If you want to manifest something quick, get mad about it. That'll, you know,
it's interesting. I've actually left a lot of anger into, like, I was never, I don't think I identify as being angry.
I wouldn't say you were angry, but.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, I did not allow myself to feel angry.
It's scary.
And I think when I did start getting angry, and, but I think for me, it's the depth of it that actually shakes through my whole body. And I think for me, I've been really trying to channel it and understand it. And, you know, seeing the way that, you know, folks like rose up over, you know, the past couple years. Yeah. Not that it hasn't been happening before, but just
the volume,
recognition of a global no, a global no more. Like, I think that in some ways, you know, and I'm kind of talking slow right now because it's like
intentional.
That interest, like that kind of shaping and playing with that energy is the most powerful thing in the world.
Absolutely.
And I think for us, we have every reason to be angry.
Always.
And so, you know, I think for me, like what I've become very interested in is like, how can we, you know, work with that in a way that we move something? Because there's a lot of people who are, we know what's going on.
Yeah, we're living it.
And I think, you know, in some ways it's like it's really hard for me to actually kind of tap in and tap out. Like, it's like, so that's why I think I don't play with anger. Because it's like, I'm literally like, all the time. Like, you can live in that space. But I think there's an exchange. There's a little bit of like, you know, where does the peace come internal our bodies with that anger? We have to hold all of that all the time.
And I think, yeah, that's like where the only piece that I have even slightly figured out is like, right, my joy is one of the biggest disruptors, right? Like I've seen people be disturbed by my joy.
Right.
I've watched it happen. And so whatever.
Yeah.
But also, the anger can be deep, can be all the time. And the only thing that I know I've learned from facilitating, I don't think I've learned it from myself, is people can't stay at 100. So let people pop off. You know, like let them, lose it a little bit. It's hardo here. And they'll come back at not 100. It might be 85, but it's not 100. In like community spaces, I think it's like okay to let people be angry. It's okay to let people express that however that comes out. But for myself, definitely like I could stay angry.
Yeah.
I know I could.
And it's the thing is, it's like, for me, it's like I put up a post like one Halloween or something, and it's like, or like sometimes I'll go to work and like, I'm the angry Black woman today. Like I am that. And, just to embrace that bit of like, that is a thing. And even Black women in themselves, like essentially identifying as being that.
Yeah.
How does that, what is the role for us? What is the place and space where we can.
What is the role? And what is the role for folks watching to say, here's our space. And so, like you said.
We don't have enough space. Like, that's the thing. We do not have enough space.
And also, we don't have enough space unpoliced. And I mean by literal police officers, but also I mean by like, man, white women will police the shit out of you.
And that's the thing. We don't have the place and space to even be angry and to know what that feels like. Because the thing for me is like, I'm going to go home and be angry. I'm going to go to work and be angry.
Yeah.
I'm going to we don't have space. We don't have access to space. And so I don't even think that we're in a place where we can even understand the role.
That anger plays.
That like fed up plays, that like, because we know that what's on the other side of that is that shit happens, right?
Yeah, and I think like maybe like I just can like so I think anger has a role for Black women so far as it actually is like part of our magic.
Yes.
Right? Like it actually is magical that we can get angry and then like choose to like transmute that into something else, right?
And the way that you're saying that right now, it brings up all the ways that I carry anger with me all the time. And I can close my eyes and like listen to that truth because I know that like what you're saying, that's it.
Yeah.
It is magic.
You know what? And I can see, like there's been just so much done with Black woman anger to the point where there have been laws that have like banned Black women for existing even just in their solace, in their truth. Because when we reclaim every part of ourselves, shit gets done. Shit gets done.
Yeah.
Like there's been laws and kind of this like darkened image of spirituality as Black people know it to be, as we can feel it to be. And that's because folks are trying to keep us away from our own power.
Right.
So I can just imagine the aunties and mamas that have been cooking and mad.
Yeah.
Magic, because people are still fed.
Or the way that and I'll bring it back to like how I process that. Because I was this happens to me all the time. I have the body experience of like, you don't get to escape from the things that happen in your brain.
No.
And the trauma that exists in your body, you don't get to escape from that. And so for me, it often comes when washing the dishes. So it's like
cleaning,
because you're literally like
hands in water.
I remember being at my like nan's place or grandma's, like doing the dishes and like you're hearing all of the discussion happening around you, and you're just kind of doing this thing of like taking it all in, cleaning the dishes. So I find for me it's like if I'm mad or something, like I literally go clean the dishes and just like be cleaning and bring that magic into the home space to like kind of, but you're just cycling, like it's like
you're moving it.
Yeah,
right?
You're moving it.
And then oftentimes, like once you've cleaned, then it's like, okay, we can like open the windows, we can think about the flowers, we can water the plants. Maybe I can go outside, get some vitamin D,
Cleaning.
But cleaning, definitely. When I'm mad, I'm cleaning. That's true. It's true. And I know I could think about 10 other Black women that would say the same thing.
Yes.
You're mad when
and
you're
you're
the
also
broom.
cleaning up too, because you know what? You're like, I'm like cleaning up in terms of like something got to get out, like who's getting cut off, like
Yeah.
literally like the cleaning up of the like the protection, right? And I think about that, and that's what I'm thinking about now too. Right now, I'm kind of going to a place of like protection. Like we cannot protect our young people, or like we don't have the ability to. Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to go there right now, but I'm just thinking about like the fact that
it's well, you know why? Because you're rooted in youth work, right?
Yeah.
You're rooted in like dreaming about future generations. So you have to be kind of like G-checked with stats and with media.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, what do we have left to pull out of our back pocket, you know? Like what's still back there? Like what haven't we returned to that helps keep us safe? And like, I think a lot of it, you were talking about your, I don't know if this was on camera, but you were talking about your space and sanctuary. Like, yeah, we don't have enough sanctuary. Like, where do we run when we're in danger? Where do we run when we're not safe? And
yeah, I've been writing about that. Like, where do you go? Where do you go? And this is a question to people who do not look like us.
Yeah.
You know what? It's them.
Well,
because
cottages.
the thing
We were
is,
talking about cottages,
yeah, because
right?
the thing is that they have a million safe spaces and places where they go.
Everywhere.
They never think about. I mean, I won't say never, because there's a lot of people who've lived a lot of hard things in their life, regardless.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Where do you go? And I want that to be the place. And this is the question for the audience and for the people, you know, because I think it's like, you know, and just this thing of like, when you're not feeling your best and you're not feeling safe, where do you go? And do you know that space, does it work for you? Does something happen? Well, think about not ever having access to that. Think about not ever having a place. There be nowhere.
You know what's really funny? You're saying this. In my family growing up had access to a cottage, right? So I would have been Black and not in a city center. So just a lot less noise. And I would go spend time like with the water and like just like running around barefoot. And it's like actually like that was a safe place.
Yeah.
That was like one of the few places where my body was not in danger.
Yeah.
And like that probably changed who I am and will be.
Totally.
You know?
And I think for me, I had safety in North Preston. I had
Of course.
safety with
I was
my
thinking about
people.
North
I had
Preston
safety
a
my
lot.
whole life in those ways. But I think for me, it wasn't enough for me to just have it for me. Because I know that there's other people who don't have that.
Yeah.
And so I think
I hear you.
the commitment to building that for people is what drives my work, because I want to be safe with people. And I think that I want to also have places and spaces in this world that I want to be able to go anywhere and everywhere. Like, you know, I think that there's part of like the way that I walk down these streets now, like it feels like I'm walking different now because I live in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so in some ways I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
here.
walking.
I'm here. Yeah.
I'm here. This is my place. Like, you know what I mean? Like that, and just so that everybody else can recognize that you might come here and you think it's a great place, but we still have a lot of work to do. So it's like, you can't get too comfortable just arriving here, because there's a lot of stories that exist beyond the walls at the table that you're eating at and having wine and all the merry joy, which is great. But I'm happy for you. But it's like, there's so much more to do. And because the spaces and places where Black people, Black women are feeling safer, it's getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's a reality as we lose places and spaces, as we, you know, as we see this place grow, we're losing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think,
that's real.
Yeah, I get caught up in the loss, and like that makes me so sad.
Yeah.
But I think, like, just in this conversation, it's like, okay, so we're losing spaces. I guess the only thing left to do for the next generation is to make the space.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the only thing there is to do, is to make the space and make it permanent.
Why is that so hard? Why is it so hard?
Because don't nobody want to buy us no real estate. That's why. Buy me a building, please.
Yeah.
I'll do good with it.
If we had a building, you know what I mean?
One.
Like, the answers are so simple to me.
One. And I've been in conversations with people, like, you know, with government being like, I know y'all give buildings to organizations. Yeah. I know you do.
We could run it.
We don't need anybody. I don't want anybody. No. I don't want one staff member.
They would hate that, though. So that, anyways. So I just think that we know what we need to do.
Yeah,
and I think
that
the only thing that's really stopping us in some ways is not having all of the resources And also just recognizing that even us getting together to have this time to even have this, this is the start.
Yeah, totally.
So we're going to make the place and space. We're already doing it. But the thing is like, it's still on our backs. It's still on our shoulders. It's still our work to do. Maybe we love that. Maybe we want to be, but maybe we want it to be a little bit more easier. Maybe we want to get a call from a developer and say, we really love your
the work
vision.
that you're doing.
Yeah,
we
like
love
to
your
work with
dreams.
you. We believe that we cannot build our society by leaving you behind. Like, you know what I mean? Like, could there be any kind of offering that wouldn't translate to anybody losing any money?
It never does.
You know?
It never truly
If that's
does.
what it really is about. Like, is it about money? Is it about money? Is it about safety? Are you afraid of me? Like, what is it? Why can't we be a part of the society in a way that allows, like, what is it?
What's the answer?
Well, I mean,
Why
in
can't we
some,
be in society?
yeah, I think in some ways it's because like we're still viewed as like illegal. You feel me? Like everything I do is somehow illegal, right? Like, you know,
Criminalization.
criminalized, exactly. So I'm walking down the street, illegal. Like, you know, I got a good job, illegal. I got a nice car, illegal. Like, you know, I don't look nice, illegal. Like, you know, I'm sober, somehow illegal and impossible. I'm not sober, criminalized. Like, we aren't even at the place where, again, we can experience, I would go as far as to say 98% of spaces without being policed.
Yeah.
And so until people just let us be, you know, and like really like let it, like there's this kind of like culture of like meddling, being over involved, like being micromanaged, that just ain't it, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's still a lot of like bucking, I feel like our generation has to do to like prove kind of like that we're worthy of the same things as everyone else.
And that's what I think for me right now. I'm there in a sense of I've proven everything.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing, like,
how I feel.
So I think now when we come to the table with anything, if people are not showing us that they're about it, they're not.
You know what else though? I woke up, I don't know if this happened for you, I woke up when I turned 30 and I gave instantly less fucks. I was like, I don't care about what anybody thinks anymore. Would you look at that? And I was like, I could do this more. And then also
100%.
reconnecting with my family in North Preston. When I left, I was like, I have so much more than I can ever, no money's worth this. How I feel, it's gonna make me cry. To look at somebody who's from your same cloth, 90 years old. I was like, if I never get anything else ever again, I'll move forward with this and I'll be a different person. Like you're like, LAMEIA's arrived. Like I've arrived, I'm arriving. And that's how I felt. I was like, I'm here and there's nothing you can do. Like my roots are so deep and I can see them now. You know what I mean? Like I can see them, I can feel them, I can touch them. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing that I'm immovable. After meeting those folks and like, I'm lucky that they're still here and like we can have a relationship, but whoa.
Forever and ever.
Yeah, forever, like forever connected. But
Forever.
it was just the one piece, and there's so many more pieces, but an integral piece to me being like, yeah, there's a reason for you. There's a reason for you.
'Cause you're adopted, right?
Yeah, I'm adopted. I was adopted when I was 17 days old. Catholic Church Adoption Agency. They've got a bad reputation with children, no lie. Yeah, Home of the Guardian Angel, 17 days old. My birth mom is white and Acadian, and I didn't really know anything about her growing up. And then 3 years ago, I got my like adoption papers, like package. And so I got to see, you know, a little bit more of like what my first moments in this world were like, which is so weird that, you know, to go so long without that.
Yeah.
And like all of these like random things that like everybody's like used to having, like, you know, you look at your father, you look like him, you know what I mean? You have certain similarities like that feel familiar about him. And like to never have that really is so weird that I became very fine with being, I didn't want to look like anybody. I don't want to remind you of anyone. I don't want to sound like anybody. I don't want to do what other people are doing. Like, you know, I just want to be in the margins now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm here already. I'll embrace it and I'll run with it. But yeah, like coming back, like now I'm getting older and coming back full circle.
Because the ancestors had every reason, every intention for you to be back with us.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful part about, I know the land of Preston in a way it calls to everybody. Like no matter who once you get on that road and you go up there, you do not come back the same. You don't.
Never. I've never. And it's like we were talking like 10 times. Like it's not even, so like, I don't know what happens after 100 times.
See, who you come into community with, who you eat with, like, and I like feel like I feel so like I've got it all. Like I have the world.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I have everything. And I think for me, I feel so sad because people don't want to get to know that part of this world.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like they want to keep us out.
Yeah.
And I think it's really sad because the thing is that I know what our community, who we are as people, I know what we have to offer.
100%. Like, and that's never been lost on like me.
Yeah.
You know, somebody that I studied so much of Black culture before I was ever in it.
Yeah.
You know? And like I studied so much African Nova Scotian history before I was really able to identify personally with it.
Right.
And for me, you know, like it's the Northwest is the most magical thing you could ever even dream of. We can't even get that now. And they gave it to us as a punishment. You know what I mean? Like this is how we punish you. We hope that you don't thrive or succeed or do well. And not only did people thrive, succeed, and do well, they're still there. You know what I mean? So I just think, I think African Nova Scotian history in general is like just the essence of the most magic. Like who lives through it? Who lives through all this shit? Like nobody, you know, literally nobody.
Yes.
You can look back in history. People don't actually make it through this kind of stuff. And not only have we made it through, you know, there's still so many of our original settlements where people still are.
Yeah.
And of course those numbers are dwindling. Of course things are changing and gentrifying, but people still are there. Like we still ain't gone.
And the pain and the hurt and all of the things that we are navigating through.
Yeah.
We still essentially stay together. And I think that is a testament.
One thing that I can say that I'm very proud that I want to teach the young folks, fight with Black people in private. Mm-hmm. Don't you dare bring that shit out for other people to comment on. Don't you dare. It's very disrespectful, especially African Nova Scotian. Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's for me. Like bring it to my house.
Yeah.
Call my phone. Come over. Like we can figure this out.
Yeah.
But the way I've seen some people go at each other online, that's nobody else's business. Like please stop that.
And what do you think that is? I think it's actually from us acting like we're with other people and we're not. Like, you know what I mean? There's an essence of the way that, you know, to get into this society.
Yeah.
And to other yourself away from your own people.
Right.
Or to
I'm not like,
feel like, you know, you're integrated or upholding agendas that really aren't ours. It puts people sometimes in a position where they get really confused and lost, I'd say. And I think that we're actually experiencing a whole lot of that in our community right now where it's, you know, the leadership we're unsure, you know, because
or like
I think
we don't even know who our leaders are sometimes. Like, you know, do we want it to be within this government system? Like, does that even make sense?
Yeah. Do we feel represented? Do we feel heard? Do we feel, and like all the people who do hold power, you know, how do you stay in connection and how do you stay in community? Are you in community? Have you had and not to say that I'm the be all end all, like I'm not saying that at all, but what I'm saying is like, you know, when I'm out there doing programs with kids, I don't really get that many calls.
Right.
You know, from a lot of people who are in a lot of places of power. So, you know, for me, I'm always in this question about like, who do these children see as the people who are the ones working for them on their behalf to make things better for them? Like, absolutely. You know that, and so that's why for me, I try to be that bridge and connect people to Preston, because I'm like, if there's a real desire and a sincerity to come, I will make every bridge, you know, to make it happen, because I know that I'm only limited, and I really want the children to actually have a lot of different people to look up to. You know, it can't just be the one or two or three that they see. They need to see the whole world. They need to see like everybody doing all the things.
There's so many offline conversations we have to have, you know?
So it's like, so I'm so excited about even just that, like that folks know that my offering is a sincere one. And, you know, because it's like, LAMEIA is a bridge builder. And the kids are like, what does that even mean? And I was like, yo, I'm holding this bridge open. Like, I'm literally like, from this bridge to that bridge, Halifax, Dartmouth, like I'm crossing all bridges and I'm holding holding them up. Because I do want to witness, I want to basically be able to witness all of these connections. And I want to be able to like be there, be a part of that. And I am, you know? So I think there's like this real like sense of knowing what I can contribute and you knowing what you can contribute and what we all are contributing collectively. We're doing it. Like Black women, Black people, we're doing it. And I think there's just a moment of like, creating these spaces to like have that reflection, have that real talk, and to also capture it so that this is what goes down for forever. You know, that they get to watch this back, run that back. Let me hear what she said again.
Yeah.
You know?
You know how, I mean, have you seen Speak It?
I have.
Okay, right?
Exactly.
But like, Speak It is like, again,
that's Sylvia Hamilton. Like,
Sylvia Hamilton.
It's like,
we still watch.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
So things haven't changed.
Exactly. So creating.
Some things have, but like.
Some things have, but like a lot of things haven't. And I sent that out to library staff wide and I said, watch this. What's different?
And so that's why the filmmakers and the people of the time.
Storytellers.
Like.
Artists.
And story catchers. Because that's another thing too. Because that's a whole other, Dennis Adams brought this into my world. I don't know where he said he got it from, but he's like, hold on to that part. But it's like being able to catch the story as well. Because there's a lot of lessons.
I will write down, like now I realize when elders say things or like when they're like, oh yeah, if you just boil down some molasses and I'm like, molasses and what? But I'm writing these things down because I'm like, that is.
To hold those little threads.
Because some, like, you know, you listen to somebody and you're passing that on to me and they listen to somebody else, like for as far back as we've been here. And, you know, maybe even before then. So those things feel really important. The story catching, knowing when it's a moment. You know what I mean? Knowing when it's a moment. Yeah. Okay.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, we're chilling.
No, it's good. Wow, that was great. Cool. So we're buying a building.